to our session today. We allow a few more minutes for more participants to join. And yes, our June session takes place not on Thursday as we all used to, but on Wednesday today, as tomorrow is a public holiday in Germany and in some countries in Europe. So we considered to move the session one day ahead. But we will be recording this session anyway, so for those who can't join, we'll have a chance to listen to a replay. But yes. So again, hello everyone who have just joined. We allow a few more minutes for more participants to join, and we'll start in few minutes. Aditi, would you like already?
Yeah. Just
So now we can see your screen, and I think we will start right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our June session out of SAP Security Webcast series. Today,
Larissa, you just need to record as well. Hit the record button.
Yes, I'll do it right now after my introduction. But I can start now too. Okay. So again, hello everyone. Big warm summer hello from Germany. It's really hot here. Great to have you here in our session today. Today in our June session out of SAP Security Webcast series, we welcome Aditi Kulkarni, who will give us an overview about bug bounty for SAP Applications. Today is a great chance to get insight and get acquainted with bug bounty, and we will be offering more sessions on these topics later during the year. And we'll be very much happy to welcome you in one of our upcoming sessions. With this, I ask Aditi to take over.
thank you, Larissa, for the introduction. Okay, so hello everyone. I think good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. So yeah, I will be giving you an overview of the bug bounty programs for SAP Applications today. So I have been working in the field of product security for about 10 years now, and mainly into security assessments and PCERT. So in my current role, I work as a bug bounty coordinator, and I also look into SAP security patch days. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So this would be our agenda. Before we head into the topics, maybe I just want to mention that currently the recording is on, and we will open up for questions in the end. So once the recording is stopped, we will be able to, get into the Q&A session. So if you do have questions, please feel free to, post it in the chat, and we will be taking them up for answering in the end after the presentation. Yeah, with that, let me head into the presentation. So we will see what is bug bounty in general and how we run it at SAP, and how, in correlation with S2DL, software development lifecycle and operations lifecycle, how bug bounty stands in correlation to that.
Aditi, we can't hear you properly. You're kind of we had some audio problems hearing you. Maybe you can get closer to the mic.
Yeah. Is this better now, or?
It's a bit better, but it was like we were losing your voice.
Okay, okay. Is this okay, or?
I think if you stay in this position, I think we can hear you properly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Great. Thanks for that feedback. So, okay, so I'll try to keep it in this position as much as possible. I'm not sure if it's because of my new laptop, but yeah, we'll try to be in this position. Okay, great. So, firstly, the very basic question, what is bug bounty? So, can any one of you just maybe unmute yourself and give an idea of what bug bounty, what your understanding of bug bounty is? Would you like to take a chance to answer this?
Yeah, maybe a very short answer is bug bounty is find a bug and get some bounty, get some money. So
Yes, exactly.
that's the short form.
Yes, yes. That's exactly what it is. So the researchers who would be finding bugs, and in this case, specifically the vulnerabilities in an application. So whenever there is a vulnerability reported in any vendor's application, the vendor would pay them bounty as a reward, right? So that is as straightforward as it can get. So what the bug bounties aim to, or what is the goal of a bug bounty? So this is basically about assessing the application of a certain vendor. And when you do that, it's of course to improve the security of that software, right? So in bug bounty, the vendors have the chance to leverage the knowledge and experience of the entire hacker community that's outside their company, and it helps improve the relationship between the hackers and the software vendors, because you would be working in a close-knit collaboration. There would be certain agreements between the hacker and the software vendors, and of course the hackers are compensated for their efforts in terms of not just providing the proof of concept of finding, also in terms of explaining certain things and giving more examples, more insights into that particular finding. So this kind of collaboration is compensated, which is a win-win situation for both the vendor and for the hacker. And basically learn about different attack vectors, because when someone outside the vendor company is involved, then you get a broader and a more outsider perspective of the security of the application. So that is a good thing to get to know the different kind of attack vectors and scenarios, and even maybe combine two different types of vulnerabilities to if maybe say two medium severity vulnerabilities are clubbed together, it could give rise to a more critical vulnerability. So these are the kind of different ways in which bug bounty helps a vendor identify more of or improve the security much better, and also add new defensive measures. And let's say if a vulnerability is related to input validation, and there would be different probably reports coming in, so we get an overview and then mitigate that entire class of bugs altogether. So these are the different goals. I can in fact call them as benefits. So these are actually the goals and in turn the benefits of having bug bounty programs. So as simply put, so bug bounty involves exposing the software of a vendor of a company in a controlled manner. So there would be certain limitations of what is exposed, and in that exposed software, the researchers would be performing their assessments and then reporting the vulnerabilities to the vendor, and then they would be getting a reward on top of that. Right? So if it's a confirmed vulnerability, they would be paid a certain amount. So this is in basic sense what a bug bounty program means. So let's see how it started off. So Bug Bounty Program has Bug Bounty has been around for from around 1995. So that's when Netscape started to follow this kind of a concept to get their broaden their security assessments in terms of bug bounties and monetize the vulnerabilities they received. And almost nearly after a decade, Mozilla followed, and then subsequently other big companies like Google, Facebook, PayPal, Microsoft, SAP, so all followed. And now it's like seen as one of the go-to methods to get such experts involved in finding out the security vulnerabilities that an application might have. Right. So how the basics of a bug bounty, like how a basic structure of a bug bounty program works is there are two entities apart from the vendor, of course. So one is a group of ethical hackers. So why we call them as ethical is because when someone wants to collaborate in the form of monetary benefits, of course you would expect the other party to have an ethical behavior without with a certain good behavior in terms of collaborations. So yeah, firstly there is a strict rule provided by the vendors and the platforms in terms of what is in scope, what is out of scope. For example, the vendor would be exposing their software in a certain limitation because they would want to concentrate on that particular module, maybe because they want to make sure that module for any because it's new or because it has some business criticality, so they want to concentrate on that module. So in that case, what they can do is they can just expose that particular module to the researchers for assessments, and also make it known that, okay, if their findings are related to so and so vulnerabilities, it will be not considered in scope for a bounty, maybe because the vendors are already working on those things from their side, or maybe because they're exposing only a part of the software. So when it is actually used in a end-to-end landscape, that vulnerability would already be taken care of. So there are many reasons why a vendor would want to choose some things to be in scope and some out of scope. So that is clearly defined. And then there is responsible disclosure of findings by the ethical hackers. So they wouldn't be reaching out for zero-day disclosures when they are participating in bug bounty programs. That's one of the major benefits here. And and then we have also the bounties themselves are paid out according to the criticality. So the more critical the vulnerability, the more bounty the ethical hackers get paid. So this is a basic structure how it works for ethical hackers. And now coming to the platforms. So as you see, like the bug bounty, the whole concept has evolved over the period, and more companies are now following this, right? So of course, it is very simple to explain that you report a bug and you get paid, but it's a lot more sophisticated when it comes to the operational side of it, right? So because we have different entities involved here, and more importantly, there is money involved, right? So that's why there have been such platforms who have come into the market now, which actually make this whole operation very easy, very simple. So they provide different kinds of services to the vendors, and they also have various hackers registered on their platform. So any hacker, they can register on these platforms, and once they register, they would be bound by a certain NDA, and they would the platform would take care of managing relationships with this hacker community. Can maybe also mention that they would also be kind of observing the ethical behavior of the hackers also in some ways. So basically, the entire win-win kind of relationship is taken care of by the platforms. and also manage the communication between the vendors, that is the business and the hackers. So yeah, the platform takes care of that as well. And yeah, some platforms also provide this added service of, in fact, triaging the findings that the researchers are reporting in the platform, right? So when they are reporting, these services themselves are they eliminate false positives and then forward it to the vendors. So this is also an added service which kind of reduces the false positives. It is still possible that after it's eliminated by the platform, the vendors still might further analyze and find that it is false positive, but that rate reduces drastically. So yeah, this is basically how.
Aditi, again, it's becoming difficult to hear you.
Is it?
Now better.
Okay, I think my mic was kind of covered by a stand I have. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So I hope that it was not too low, and I hope you were able to hear the slides. So this was basically the overview of the bug bounty, like how it started and what a basic structure of bug bounty is. Right. So now we will head to how bug bounty is run at SAP. So we have had this Hall of Fame for security researchers who submit vulnerabilities to SAP in the form of sending an email to Secure Inbox, and more recently in the form of submitting via a vulnerability form. So these vulnerabilities are received by the PSERT team of SAP, and they are further processed for fixing and analysis fixing, etc. So that has always been there. But during 2016, 2017, we started identifying that we also wanted to have a bug bounty program in SAP, and then we started checking for the various things and started to set it up, which of course, as I said, it's easier to define and more difficult and more sophisticated setup needs to be maintained in the organization. So the entire work was done for about few months, and then finally in 2017, 2018, we started with the bug bounty programs at SAP. So ever since then, the setup, and there has been a continuous evolution of bug bounty programs at SAP. So which is in 2020, in fact, we have all applications, general availability of bug bounty programs is available for all interested application areas within SAP. So I think at this point, it's good to mention here that bug bounty programs can be opted in by the different application areas of SAP. So those who prefer to opt in will be participating in the bug bounty programs. And yeah, that brings me to the next slide. So how, like, let's say an application area chose to be part of SAP's bug bounty program, right? So then we have a central global security organization where I belong to. So we have a central budget for bug bounty platform service. And then we also support to set up, because we need to ensure there are certain checklists followed. There is a legal and privacy compliance in place, and SAP has its own internal security standards. So we need to ensure that these applications are already compliant to these internal standards. And then there is risk management done, and we have coordinators in global security team that will be an interface between the platform and the development teams, so that the collaboration is smoother when we receive findings. And yeah, the coordinators would be responsible to create internal tickets and also discuss the vulnerabilities, discuss the CVSS score for the vulnerabilities, and finally, once the issues are confirmed, then reward the payouts. So this is how global security supports, and any finding, any vulnerability that is confirmed in SAP, we have SLAs, service level agreements to, the more critical the vulnerability, the less time is assigned to that vulnerability to be fixed. So such SLAs are defined, and yeah, the systems that are used in bug bounty, they cannot be, of course, productive systems, but again, an environment needs to be created that is provided in the platform for the researchers. So such, in order to set up that environment, create test data, test credentials. So all of that is done by the engineering teams, the application teams that are opting in for the bug bounty programs. So as mentioned before, this is voluntary. So the applications that would like to opt-in, they would be making sure all these points are they are compliant to all these points. And in terms of development teams, so since there is compliance and SLAs and everything in place, so there would be necessary staff, necessary points of contact from the development teams who would be dedicated to working on these findings, and they would also be involved in providing a reward tool. So yeah, this is basically how bug bounty programs work in SAP as of today. Maybe I will just quickly also check on my audio. Like, I hope, is it okay? Any changes needed in terms of the modulation?
No, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thanks, Larissa. Okay, great. So before maybe I head to the next slide, a quick question. So of course, any company would have their own internal assessments, right? So what, according to you, is the difference between a bug bounty program and the internal testing that happens? So what do you think is the difference between both? Any one difference, if you can tell.
Maybe just speak up, unmute yourself, or put your answer in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess there is something in the chat, but anyway, I would now move to the next slide. So before we head there, let's also see how the statistics of, while you think about the differences between the two, I'll just mention how SAP Bug Bounty Program stats has been. So yeah, we have different sources outside SAP that report vulnerabilities to us. One of them, of course, is the customers who report vulnerabilities in the form of customer incidents, and then there are researchers who report for applications which are not part of bug bounties. And compared to all of that, like, we have found that bug bounty programs account for one of the main sources of vulnerability findings besides these, right? And yeah, there is a 75% true positive rate in the findings that we have received, which is actually a pretty good number. And out of all these findings, confirmed findings that we have received, we have seen that 70% of the reports have been of severities high and very high, which is CVSS 7 and above. And the reward range has been between $100 to $4,000, with the CVSS scores between 2.9 to 9.6. And the average payout has been $983. This is across an average across the different programs that we have. And we have also findings ranging from simple vulnerabilities to the design flaws as well. And maybe it's a good point also to mention here that some researchers might be putting in extra efforts to not just report the vulnerabilities, but to further support us with more analysis, more clarifications, good ethical behavior. So there are different factors which we also consider, and if it's been beyond the regular, we also award them a bonus in addition to the the rewards. So there are different factors considered while doing so. So yeah, this is how we, have been able to make the best out of the SAP Bug Bounty programs while having a great collaboration with the researchers. So yeah, I guess now coming back to my question, is there any response in the chat? I guess not. Okay, so anyone wants?
I can see one answer in the chat is $4,000 the maximal payout per submission.
Okay, that I think is related to this slide. So maybe we can come back to that in the Q&A. But anybody wants to take a chance at telling how Bug Bounty is different from the regular conventional internal security tests of a company? Okay, so in the next slide we will see how it's different. Okay, so conventional security testing is part of the development life cycle of a product. So if we take it from SAP's point of view, we have a preparation phase for a software where we are involved in training, risk assessments, and then in the development phase we plan for security measures and have implement those measures, have secure development, and the development phase itself has a security testing that is done on the modules that are developed. And then there's a transition phase where the security validation is done. It's a dedicated security team that performs validation on particular module or application, right? And then bug bounty is in the end, and that is something which is outside of the development cycle. So bug bounty is after the product release. So that is the major difference here. So it's not during the development phase, but it's after the product release. And conventional security testing would come with a scope. Again, in terms of when the particular module, let's say, is being developed, that is when the security testing will be performed only on that module. So that does put a scope there. And let's say even if an end-to-end testing is performed for that application, even then there would be a time limit that you cannot keep on testing on it for months together. It would be within a certain scope, within a certain time limit, right? So that's how conventional security testing works. But I also want to mention that this is kind of a prerequisite and mandatory, before any application is released or any module is released. And bug bounty can be even considered only after the conventional security testing is performed, right? So bug bounty comes after the product's release. And here also we have a defined scope, but the scope is defined in terms of which modules and which vulnerabilities are going to be of more importance for the vendors. Like they can define that scope according to their requirements. This scope can be extended at any point, right? So it's dynamic. So today I might have a limited scope, and in the next 2 months, we might decide to increase the scope as well and just tell the researchers that, okay, we have increased the scope, so now you can explore even more in the application. So this kind of dynamic thing is there. And this is an ongoing activity. There is no time frame, so the vendors can decide how long we want.
Aditi, we can't hear you properly again. It was again a loss of audio.
Is it?
Yeah, now it's better. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay. No, that's all right. Please let me know if it's not clear. Okay, I hope it's all right now. Yeah, so as I was saying, like the bug bounty programs, there the researchers have the chance to test it for a longer duration, which gives more time to find more sophisticated kind of vulnerabilities, right? So that's the main benefit of having a bug bounty program. And there can be any number of testers as we like, because unlike in internal employees, like there would be certain experts hired, but again, there's a limitation of how many. So when we have bug bounty, service providers would have many testers, many hackers who would have registered on the platform. So we can leverage as many, hackers as we would like in the programs. Right, and there would be, there are two types of bug bounty programs basically. So there is a private bug bounty program. There is public. So SAP has a private. SAP runs private bug bounty programs as of today. So what private means is that in the platforms there would be a certain number of researchers already, and only those who are invited would be able to test the applications, which are like in our case, let's take SAP for example. So only those invited hackers would be able to test these SAP applications. Whereas in public bug bounty programs, all hackers who have registered on the platform service provider, if some vendor wants to have a public bug bounty program, then all hackers would be able to access, that application to test, right? So this is also a decision like one can make. Like in bug bounty, these are all the options that a vendor gets to choose from. So yeah, that's basically what the basic differences are between a bug bounty and conventional security testing, and yeah, that's how it is also beneficial for a vendor. So yeah, that's basically kind of ends my overview of bug bounty programs. Now, just coming to the final slides, like how, as I said, like some there can be applications of SAP where there is no bug bounty program applicable. So how do you report vulnerabilities for such applications? So there, firstly, we have, like for customers, there is a customer incident reporting platform. So the customers just need to raise an incident there. And for researchers, there is a form already. So they can just fill in the form and submit the reports to us. So yeah, this is how basically for researchers who are not, registered in the platform for the program, or if it's an application not in scope of the bug bounty program, this is how at SAP, we receive the vulnerabilities. So these vulnerabilities are received by PSOT, and then further, worked with the development teams to analyze and fix those vulnerabilities. And once the issues are fixed, so if there is any customer action required to apply those fixes, then it is communicated through security notes released on security patch day, which coincidentally was just yesterday. So these security notes are released, and on the same day, the researchers who reported these vulnerabilities are also acknowledged in the Hall of Fame on that day. So yeah, that's basically just a background also on how vulnerabilities in general are also received in SAP. So yeah, this brings me to the end of my presentation, and I think this would be also a good time to open up for Q&A. And maybe if Larissa, you can close the recording and confirm, we can head to the Q&A.
So thank you, Aditi. Thank you for your presentation. I hope it was still from the sound was still the content was understandable. So now I would like to open the Q&A, and for all the participants, please use your chance to talk to Aditi and other experts that we have in this call directly, so you can unmute yourself and speak up, or we just pick the question that we had in the in the chat from Marco about this $4,000 as maximal payout per submission. Is it true?
Yeah, I'll just read the comment once again. I missed that before. Give me a second. So $4,000 has been the maximum so far. So that's the maximum range that has been there so far. But that is again for it was between